So recently I've been looking back at some of the content that we created right at the beginning of Academy, and we've been re-editing it. I came across this kind of session from Tia, which is basically the shoot in the implied nude. And I just thought we'd kind of look at 3 ideas for setups for you and kind of quickly talk it over. Obviously, content-wise, we can't really show on YouTube. So this is really just for kind of ideas to get you kind of going. But obviously, it's available over on the Academy. So as far as the kind of the implied nude, remember this is kind of taking it to a nude level without actually showing anything. And obviously if the client is willing to actually go nude without pants and bra and things, then it makes it a lot easier to do these shots. If you're using a kind of lingerie within an implied nude, you've obviously got to disguise that and everything else with it. But we're going to basically be using hands and kind of leg positions and just one simple prop to actually disguise that. So this is an image that I like to actually start with. Back turned away from me slightly. The lighting is coming in from the kind of the 2 o'clock position. We've also got a separation light on the background and a hair light going on. But this really is using the front arm to actually disguise any of the bust. We're only kind of putting the back arm onto the waist or onto the hip to actually kind of show that beautiful shape that Tia has and things really. But this is a good place to start, and obviously everything is covered. The more you turn the body around towards camera position, obviously the hands, the limbs are going to take a little bit more kind of control. And what I usually do is use the back arm to actually kind of hide the breast nearest to us. And then I'll use the front arm to actually disguise any kind of visibility of the groin. Usually though, the front leg, if it's bent, at the knee, you'll basically hide the groin no matter what with it and things, so then you can just concentrate on covering up the breast and things. But that's a nice simple setup to begin with without any kind of real kind of experience in boudoir or implied. You can show this to a client and you can get it done. Remember, to turn the client away from camera position, get her to readjust her hand positions, and then turn back towards the pose that you want them in as far as the position is concerned. Going down to the floor, obviously, it's a lot more work because when we're working stood up, the client hasn't really got to worry about too much of gravity and how the kind of the flesh performs. But when we sit the client down, gravity, shape of the bum, shape of the legs, and everything's going to get compressed. So you need to have a little bit more kind of thought about how you're going to control that. I usually kind of use, again, this front leg as the hide. To kind of control what is visible to camera position. And obviously with some clients, you need to turn them slightly away from camera position, or, if they've got a fuller leg, you can turn them towards camera a little bit more. Arms are really good, and they can be used, as we see here, kind of stretching down the leg, or they can be used to kind of almost cutch the breast. Sorry, cutch is a Welsh term, it's cuddle the breast. So you kind of cover all that. And what I love is this kind of image looking towards camera position. So that's kind of going right down the camera lens. So you've got to really make sure that foot position, leg position, and even hands are in the right place to make it look natural without having to actually look like, boobs are being gripped or kind of something's being put in place like a cloth or a skirt or net in to kind of hide. So a lot of it is just a careful fraction movement of leg, arm, and kind of foot to actually really control that here and things really. I do increase my depth of field for this kind of image because the leg is stretching down towards me more. So whereas I might be usually photographing on the likes of f4 on previous images, on this image I need to build up to about 5, 6 to 8 to actually allow that kind of depth of field. And a simple prop like a chair with no kind of shaping in the back of the chair. You obviously need to hide the groin here. But this is a real easy way to actually bring in fact, it's based on a very, very famous image of the 50s, 60s, I think it was the first technically nude to actually go into a broad newspaper in the UK with it and things. But for here, I didn't mention right at the first shot, but I try and actually work with any of the stood images where the client can still be in heels. When they kind of go to the floor, we need to actually remove those heels because it's a lot more difficult actually in the pose. But for this image, again, we need the heels on no matter what. So I'll usually do a progression to the floor so we can only take off the shoes once, whatever it would be. But again, with a chair like this is just a kind of an IKEA simple kind of back chair, but you can pick these up kind of, without any issue. It basically, the client could be in bra and pants here and you could still do the likes of the Implied. But this gives you kind of a real kind of fun fashion element, especially if you turn it into the likes of black and white. And then of course you can basically just use one arm across the top of the chair, lean the hands actually onto the legs and so on to actually kind of move that. So 3 quick images for you to shoot if you're going to play around with going from boudoir to Implied. Good luck with it.